Welcome into Throwback Thursday here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. That's Wade Neely coming to you from his home. I'm Maurice Patton coming to you from a boardroom on the campus of Cumberland University here in Lebanon, where later this evening the Tennessee Sports Writers Association will hold its annual awards and Hall of Fame induction dinner. So I'm getting ready to recognize some of the best and brightest in sports journalism across the state here later this evening. But right now you're stuck with me and Wade. Glad to be with you here on this Thursday afternoon as we discuss local, regional, and national sports topics for the next couple of hours. Wade, what's up?
What's happening, Mo? Good to be with you. Good to see you. And yeah, nice digs. You're in the JoJo Freeman Broadcast Center, it looks like, over there on the campus of Cumberland. So in the Tommy Bryan corridor, if you will. So big stuff coming your way tonight, but a big show lined up for the next couple.
Absolutely. In the next hour, we will be joined by DUANE Rankin of the Arizona Republic. Phoenix Suns been kind of active in this NBA free agency / off season, and looking forward to getting with him and getting some thoughts on what's going on out there in the great Southwest. In the next segment, we'll be joined on Coach's Corner. This guy was so good last week that we thought we'd bring him back again. Bill Riddle, UT Southern Tennis, joining us to talk Wimbledon as it gets set to wrap up this weekend, but not without some surprises, or to at least one of us on this show, maybe not such a surprise after all. We'll get into all of that again in the next segment with Bill Riddle talking a little tennis. We'll also be talking some baseball. It's not quite as painful to talk about one team in particular right now as it has been. So we'll be talking a little Braves, a little Astros, a little Nashville Sounds, and some Major League Baseball across the board. We'll also get into some golf, some football, both professionally and collegiately, and some college basketball. Some news coming out of Nashville for the upcoming season. Pretty exciting stuff. And it is Throwback Thursday. At the top of the 3 o'clock hour, we'll be throwing it back to a recent conversation that we had on this show with newly minted Ball State Associate Head Coach Scott Combs, formerly of Martin Methodist. So he and Wade chatted it up a little bit here recently, and we'll be revisiting that again at the top of the 3 o'clock hour. So looking forward to it. Again, big show, a lot going on.
Yeah, looking forward to tapping into it. We got a lot to discuss. You mentioned Bill's going to so nice we had to do him twice in that sense. He's back stateside, though. Well, the last I checked on him, he was. I've slept since then. He has undoubtedly not slept since then. But, yeah, we'll catch up. A lot of drama going on across the pond this morning, and we'll get his insight on that, see how the trip was. And, yeah, revisiting the combo with Coach Combs. Blaine kind of got into the weeds, too, on some old Austin Peay stuff when Coach Dave Luce, which was a lot of fun during that segment. So, looking forward to that. You mentioned DUANE, too. I mean, yeah, what in the world are the Suns doing? We're going to try and figure it out. I'm not sure that they know. Not really sure that DUANE maybe knows, but he's at least our best shot at trying to figure things out. So I'm pumped for the next little bit here as we kind of navigate through all that.
He's certainly going to know more than we do. But, yeah, and that what are the Suns doing, that's kind of the talk across the NBA, it sounds like, if you do a little show prep. It looks like a lot of people kind of have that question on their minds with regards to the Suns. So, yeah, hopefully DUANE can shed a little light. Anyway, we'll see how that goes in the 3 o'clock hour. Looking forward to that. Let's go ahead and get things rolling, I guess, with yesterday's results and today's schedule on the rundown.
This is the rundown.
Buckle up, folks. The Thursday rundown is here. That means we wind back the clock. We give you Wednesday's results, and we start things off in Major League Baseball, where the Guardians defeat the Astros last night. 4-2 was your final there. The Braves with a nice win, 9-2 over the Athletics to cap our MLB scores last night. 5 innings, weather-shortened game, I'm assuming, for the Nashville Sounds. They fall in that one, unfortunately. 6-5 was your final. We'd have got them if we'd have gone the full 9. I have no doubt, but didn't pan out that way. WNBA scoreboard from last night. Connecticut defeated Seattle 93-83. As we referenced on the show yesterday, it was Golden State with an 80-61 victory over the Fever. Also touched on this one. Big win for the Mercury last night. Well, yesterday afternoon, 79-71 over the Minnesota Lynx. Capping last night, it was the Chicago Sky over the Dallas Wings. That final was 87-76.
Major League Baseball action this evening. 8:05 start locally. The Braves wrap up their 3-game West Coast series against the Athletics. Again, that's an 8:05 start here, and you can see it on FanDuel Sports. Also at 5:35, it'll be the Sounds at Durham, Game 3 of that 6-game series over in North Carolina. WNBA action. Minnesota just tipped off against the Sparks out in Los Angeles. And at 6:30, you can see this one on Amazon Prime. It's the Las Vegas Aces at the Washington Mystics. Again, 6:30 start there. Aces, Mystics in the nation's capital. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes your rundown. Top story brought to you, as always, by the fine folks at Piggly Wiggly in Neely's Mill in Columbia. Be sure and check out their delicious daily deli lunch options available from 11 a.m. until 6 p.m. And also their hand-cut meats. And everything is cost plus 10% at the cash register. Piggly Wiggly, Neely's Mill, Columbia, bringing you our top story. And one score we did not mention in the rundown, the Nashville Soccer Club was actually down early in this ball game last night as they trailed DC United 2-0 in the U.S. Open Cup quarterfinals. As Wade was saying off air before we got started, apparently the boys in gold had them right where they wanted. 5 unanswered goals for Nashville to close out a 5-2 victory at the Castle last night, advancing into the Open Cup semifinals. Huge win.
Huge win for Nashville. I mean, you can kind of start to dream a little bit about winning your first ever trophy. Made the Leagues Cup final a couple years ago before falling in that crazy penalty kick shootout versus Inter Miami. But you win that one. Kind of everything was stacked against you about 25, 30 minutes into this match. And it could have easily, Nashville could have easily thrown in the towel. It's a cup, you know, speaking of Miami, we go to Miami Saturday. We got the MLS Supporters Shield kind of in our sights as well. They didn't do that. They dug deep. And, man, it feels like a little bit of a broken record, but in a positive way this year. We're talking about the resolve of this team yet again and how far they have come from last season. This is a team that last year, you know, probably not even sniffing in terms of quality of play, at least, a semifinals, let alone the quarters for U.S. Open Cup play. But they get the win, take care of business, and, yeah, now you can kind of run. Now you really got some momentum as you head into big showdown in MLS, back in MLS play this weekend versus Miami.
Yeah, and again, they responded with some fire after getting down 2-0, the second one being an own goal. That came in the 24th minute. 2 minutes later, Johnny Perez gets NSC on the board, and then Sam Surridge with back-to-back goals for a brace, the first one coming on a penalty kick. Andy Nahar and Walker Zimmerman finish out the scoring. Yes, Walker Zimmerman coming off the sidelines late and getting one in the back of the net in the 87th minute. Again, 5 goals after trailing 2-0 in about 60 minutes of play, basically. So this team can score in flurries. We've seen that at times over the course of this season, and it was on display yet again last night. And that had to be a fun atmosphere over there.
Yeah, about as raucous as a U.S. Open Cup match at the middle of the week could be. And hate I missed this. I wasn't even keeping up with the match, especially once I saw 2-0. But just kind of had, you know, midweek vibes and said, you know what, we'll just check in later on the boys. They didn't have time to do that. Our good friend Luke Thompson, formerly colleague up there in Clarksville at the Leaf Chronicle, he's texting me saying, are you watching this? He said, I don't know what was said at halftime, but something must have been said. And you're right. Unleashing a flurry of goals. 4 of them coming in the second half, and they win this one kind of in a laugher. And they saved one of their best for last because that Nahar goal in the 82nd minute, that was a golazo, an absolute masterclass from about 15 yards beyond the box there, just ripping one and kind of man, Nashville, just the vibes are off the charts with this team. Who knows how it really ends up? Interesting situation, too. We don't know who they're going to play yet. Philadelphia, New York, their match got postponed due to severe weather, so they're not going to play that one until August 13th. So you're not going to know who you're going to play in the next round for over a month. If the Red Bulls win, Nashville will go on the road and play up there in New Jersey. But if Philly wins, it'll be a twist of fate, and Nashville would get to host Philadelphia in the semis, which would be electric, obviously.
Without question, especially with what just happened in Philadelphia here recently with NSC extending their unbeaten streak, so which is now at 15.
Yeah, and I mean, that's the thing, too. The U.S. Open Cup, I mean, some teams really go for it, and Nashville kind of has, threaded the needle a little bit. They've kind of kept some of their big dogs out there in terms of roster rotation. Valaire's told us a number of times, their previous match in the previous round, versus Orlando, they trotted out a B squad at best and still got a win. And last night, kind of a B-plus squad because you are deep into the tournament now. So a chance to really make this thing happen. That next match will be in mid-September-ish. And then if you can win that one, Minnesota and Austin on the other side of the bracket, the championship would be in October. So a lot to play for, a lot to be excited. But if nothing else, the momentum just continues for these guys.
Yeah, and you mentioned that you tried to get some guys off their feet again with this trip coming up this weekend to enter Miami. So Joe Willis not starting, not getting on the field. It was Brian Schwakey in goal. And then Patrick Yazbek did not get the start. Gaston Brugman started in the midfield for NSC. Yazbek did get in later in the game. But, yeah, to your point, it wasn't necessarily the best 11 that BJ could have put on the field, but it was good enough.
Good enough to get the win. Walker Zimmerman doesn't start, but obviously you mentioned comes in, gets the goal late. They're continuing to play well at the back, even in his absence of sorts. But even last night, somewhat of an absence. But also they didn't have Schaffelberg still on the roster. He will be a guy to keep your eyes on. Picked up a knock and then also had duties with the Canadian national team. Thought he might play last Saturday versus Philadelphia. Wasn't on the team sheet and was not on the team sheet last night. But if they could get him back for Miami, really kind of rolling out the big guns, that will be a massive showdown. Miami's had Nashville SC's number in this intermessi run that they've been on the last couple of seasons. It will be fun. But, yeah, you can kind of start to dream. You can almost think about a championship, which is Valaire told us will be their first in franchise history.
Yeah, and we talked earlier this year about kind of a meat grinder of a schedule that Nashville was facing. They're kind of in a tough run right here. They played this weekend. They played last night. They go to Miami this weekend, and then they've got Columbus Crew coming in here for an MLS matchup next Wednesday night. So it's kind of a no rest for the weary type thing for the boys in gold right now.
Yeah, hopefully pick up, realistically, I'm gonna whisper this. Don't put all your eggs in a basket as a fan if things don't go your way Saturday. That is a tough draw going down to Inter Miami, who obviously did not play last night in Open Cup play, I should say. They did have an MLS fixture. But coming in out of that, you got the Crew. I mean, it is a tough turnaround. That's the only drawback of making this deep run. Yes, you have a chance to go for a trophy, and really that means a lot to a franchise like Nashville. But how do you manage the roster? You see this in Europe a lot. A lot of teams qualify for the UEFA Champions League. Some teams just sell out, and that's their only goal, and we've seen them kind of falter in their domestic league as a result. Even the year that Nashville made the League's Cup final I mentioned a moment ago, really kind of tanked after that in terms of MLS play 2 seasons ago. So you kind of got to be careful. But for right now, everything is coming up Nashville.
Yeah, and to your point, Wade, it feels like BJ Callahan has kind of, as you like to say, threaded that needle with regards to, making the right moves with the roster rotation and that kind of thing and keeping this momentum going. And it almost feels like their approach is, whether it's MLS or not, if we're playing a game, we want to win it. And we want to be smart about it, but we want to win it. And so far, so good. Now, do we expect to see Messi this weekend?
I don't see any reason why not.
Okay.
And yeah, they've handed Nashville a fair share of heartbreak. Like I said, don't be disappointed if this magical run. The team, will be slightly bummed out, but I think the team can put it into context a little more. But if you can rebound, if you could somehow salvage a draw on the road, that'd be fantastic. And then turn around and get either a draw or definitely 3 points at home versus Columbus. That will be key. The trick will be, can you go and get that precious road point? That's kind of an extra notch in the column of, do we believe in this team? If you can go down to Miami and pull that off, yeah, you're right there in the thick of things.
I tell you what, at this point, though, win, lose, or draw, you got to be really excited about this team. I mean, you got to go back to late April to get their last loss. That's all of May. That's all of June. And that's right now 10 days into July. It's been a long time.
Yeah, the entire NBA playoffs transpired, and Nashville did not lose a game. So it has been a lengthy run. Runs like this, are magical, and they can kind of fuel you. I mean, Valera has told us on a number of times too in the preseason, coming off of a horrific year last year, expectations I think nationally were pretty low for this team. There was a glimmer, maybe they could do some right things, but I don't think anyone really expected this type of run. It kind of reminds you of that Predators run we saw 2 years ago where they were kind of in the mix, kind of but then you go on this magical point streak. Now all of a sudden you're thrust into the conversation as a potential playoff team or championship contender. Nashville has certainly done that. And if they can take care of business in the Cup and continue to take care of business in the MLS, yeah, it will be a big, big deal. And like you said, deserve a lot of support because they're playing at an insane level right now.
The reality of it is this team's going to lose at some point, right?
Maybe.
There you go.
I don't know. Like I said, I don't want to throw water on everything. I mean, the other strategy, so this will be a fascinating case study on Saturday. How do you approach that match? You're riding this crazy streak. If we take what we've seen thus far from Callahan and Nashville, yeah, they're going to go for it. A previous regime, this has a classic park the bus, let's go with the defensive heavy lineup, and let's maybe just settle for a draw. And if we can somehow get a goal and maybe take a lead, that's fantastic, but you'll take the draw. I don't know that that's going to happen on Saturday. It feels like this new kind of era of NSC. They're going to go guns a-blazing, and it'll be fun to watch. And that will be on FS1 too Saturday, so a chance for a nationwide audience to see the boys in gold.
Wow. There you go. Let's take a break here on Throwback Thursday on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. When we come back, it's Coach's Corner with UT Southern's Bill Riddle. Talking tennis. Stick around.
Deep in a forest at Nashville Zoo, new creatures here for you to view. Phantoms graced in black and white swing high in trees of dappled light. In rocky crags, tall and steep, small antelopes with nimble feet. A wise old man with beard of white, a sentry perched on stony height. Amidst it all, a hunter lies, with coat of gold and steely eyes. A new adventure just for you. Leopard Forest at Nashville Zoo. Open now.
Busy bee, yeah, busy bee. If you need
Hold on, y'all, hold on. I need to make a call. Hey, this is Brianna with Busy Bee. I'm giving you a call to let you know your technician is on his way.
833.
Busy bee. Guys, not yet. Not yet.
Busy bee, oh,
Now I'm
busy
ready,
bee.
guys.
Call 775-7833.
Custom Stone Handlers supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with Riverstone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe the measure of any person or company is how you treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStoneHandlers.com.
Throwback Thursday continues here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. I'm Maurice Patton. That's Wade Neely. In the second hour, we'll be throwing it back to a recent conversation we had with Scott Combs, the new associate head coach at Ball State University in Muncie, Indiana. But right now, it's time for Coach's Corner, and we bring back Bill Riddle of UT Southern Tennis to talk Wimbledon, as he did last week with us, or with Wade. Anyway, I was out of pocket. No, that was what, 2 weeks ago, right? There we go. Yeah, because I wasn't out of pocket last week. But anyway, Bill, thanks for joining us. Welcome back.
Bill froze, but I think he's coming back in.
He's back. Sorry, guys.
That's
I
all
lost
right,
you there.
man. Yeah, that's okay. We appreciate you coming back.
What's up, Coach?
Coming back.
Yeah. How are you?
We're doing well. So I understand that since you last visited the show, you've been to Wimbledon and back. Am I getting that right?
Yes, sir. I was there for a couple of weeks. I'm back, but actually I'm at the Nashville airport. I've got to make another little quick trip. But yes, was there for a couple of weeks. Got to catch not only qualifying, but some of the main draw, some of the junior tournament leading up to it, and great time as always whenever you're in London and around Wimbledon.
Wade said that it was kind of tough catching up with you, tough keeping up with you. Where are you off to?
I've got to run down to Orlando for the USTA National Tennis Center is down there. It's 100 tennis courts. It's a big campus where everything happens. So quick little trip down there for a meeting and look at some players and then get back.
Yeah, that's usually always the first question, Mo, is where is Bill?
Where is Bill? Okay.
Like I said, I knew he was back from England, but I didn't know where he was at the moment, and we kind of got our answer right there.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Always on the move, trying to get better, you know.
Hey, real quick, I understand that. But, hey, before we go any further, what'd you get me from the Ralph Lauren store? I told you to grab me something.
Well, they were out of mediums. They did not have your size anymore.
Okay. So we'll have to settle up another way then, because I was banking on something fancy from over there. But
something. I brought you some grass though from the court. How about that?
I'll take that. I was hoping maybe. As far back as we go, I was thinking for a little bit better, but I suppose
something a little nicer. Okay.
That would suffice.
Well, you got to remember the U.S. Open's coming up pretty soon, so I'll be there for that. So of course, maybe I may get up to you extra with something from New York.
Okay, I love that. Hey, real quick, another funny one before we go any further, Bill. What was the latest on Rufus the Hawk? We talked about him on our Wild and Wacky headlines yesterday, and he's scaring the pigeons away at Wimbledon. Is he okay? Did you see him? Did you have an encounter with Rufus?
I did not tangle with Rufus the Hawk, but I do know one of my good buddies. He always, every year, he goes a few days early. He goes by and checks out the Hawk because he's real good friends with the grounds crew that's there. But I'm telling you that they're very serious about that, because there's a lot of time and money and effort put into maintaining those grounds to literal perfection. So it's not a bad gig if you're a groundskeeper or you're the Hawk.
Now, Bill, let me ask you, because we were talking about this, and I'm concerned. Now, is Rufus just there kind of, I don't know, as an enforcer, or is he actually taking matters into his own beak with regards to these pigeons? I mean, just how much of an enforcer are we talking about with Rufus? Does this thing come to,
I think he lays down the law. He definitely lays down the law, and they want to keep the pigeons away. They want to keep other things away from there. So I think when he needs to, he flexes a little muscle.
Wow.
I've not seen it firsthand, but I can imagine he's paid very well to take care of that place. So,
and he does what he needs to do, huh?
You do what you got to do, right? You handle your business.
You know, you mentioned bringing Wade some grass back. They might not, given the shape that the grass is in right now, they might not take too kindly, Bill, to that.
No, that's the thing. I mean, you see it on TV, and you don't really have an appreciation for what grass court tennis is like until you're actually out on the grass. But even 2 days into the tournament, it gets pretty chewed up. You get these crazy bounces. They're very protective of the main courts, center court 1, 2, and 3, and some of the show courts. So they limit on how much time you can practice on those, who gets to practice on it. I mean, you've got to be highly ranked to be able to even get on there, and you're very precise on how much hitting time you get. But it's very, very much overseen as far as like what's going on, because that grass goes pretty quick.
As hot as it is over there right now, the condition of the grass, who does that benefit? I mean, and in terms of skill level and that kind of thing.
Well, it's interesting about this is that, over the course of 2 weeks, and even 3 weeks, really, because you're talking about players getting there early, maybe playing qualifying at Roehampton, practicing on the grass. It changes speed. It changes the way it plays over the course of those 2 to 3 weeks, because you go from something that's better bounces, no dead spots, no chewed up spots, faster, maybe a little slicker, to now almost playing like, I don't want to say clay, but playing more dirty, if you will, because the grass is gone and you're down to just the dirt. And so it takes someone who can mix it up, that can have the big serve, that can chip, that can use some different spins, that can kind of maybe junk it up a little bit to get past a couple of rounds, get deep into the tournament. So in the old days of just having a big server, it's more than just having a big serve. You got to have some skill to be able to change things up.
Bill, as we kind of watched this morning, obviously the women's semifinal that everybody certainly here stateside was talking about, the world's number one goes down yet again to an American. Sabalenka has been bounced. But tell us, kind of give us, and if you got any personal insight, that'd be extra on top. What should we know? And tell us kind of the story of Amanda Aminasova, who has kind of owned Sabalenka, but also has her own unique kind of story, kind of redemption-wise.
Well, it's interesting because I saw her probably a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago. I did an event with the WTA over at the National Tennis Center in Roehampton. She was in great spirits. One of the things that, and I watched her in an event I was at right before COVID, and about a year and a half ago, she took some time off just to kind of refresh, to recharge, kind of a mental break. And I think that was one of the big things for her that has changed in her game. She looked happier when I saw her a week and a half ago. I think, and this is the thing that I think people have a hard time understanding, is that the tour never stops. I mean, it just goes from January. You got to imagine these guys and girls have been playing and traveling since Christmas, basically, because you got to get to Australia. They've been playing, and I think she has found a nice balance of taking time off, being away from the court, not necessarily worrying always about where her ranking is, but just playing better tennis and playing kind of within herself. So, I think she's in a really good spot. And it takes being mentally as well as physically, relaxed to be able to get deep into tournaments like this and to play at the highest level.
Other kind of question while we're talking women's tennis, is this a function of the quality of play that we're seeing? There are that many good players, or is you kind of loosely referenced our last visit. The court conditions could be beneficial to one player or another, but I'm just always fascinated, especially on the women's side in these last year and a half or so. It seems like we're seeing major upsets, and we're seeing some real Cinderella kind of runs out of players that I can't recall, at least in years past.
Right. Yeah, I mean, the reality of playing grass court tennis is that you have to stay healthy. It just takes one little tweak or a slide or something unstable, and you get a little something. I mean, you look at Dimitrov with a torn pectoral muscle. Now, that necessarily isn't from the grass, but little things like that are going to pop up. And if you can minimize the little bitty issues that you have out there as an athlete, stay healthy, and then just kind of take them one match at a time, depending on who you're facing, then you've got a better chance. The reality is that the pool is so deep on both the men and women's side that it just, you get somebody who is very healthy, that is mentally in a good place, that's not tired, and sometimes a little bit of luck, kind of mix that in there with it, and you can ride that for a while.
Bill Riddle of UT Southern Tennis joining us here on Coach's Corner on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. As we mentioned, the women's final at Wimbledon is set. In addition to Amanda Anisimova, you've got Iga Swiatek advancing to the finals with a straight set victory over Bencic earlier today. But Bill, we were talking again during Wild and Wacky Wednesday yesterday. Have you tried strawberries and pasta yet?
Strawberries and pasta?
It's all the rage, apparently.
In Poland, where Iga Swiatek is from, she swears by it.
No, but I mean, I did send Wade that picture of the strawberries and cream sandwich, strawberries cream on a bread that was it. They were serving in the convenience stores. You know what? I like my strawberries and cream the old-fashioned way, just strawberries, cream, or just strawberries. I'm pretty simple. I don't know that I'm going to go putting it on pasta or bread or anything else.
I understand. Hey, what are your thoughts on the men's side? Apparently, there was an injury in the quarters that may impact things going forward, possibly. Joker canceled practice earlier today.
Yeah, I go back to the fact that if you're healthy, your body's in good shape, and you got to remember, all these guys and all these girls get the massage afterwards. They've got physios, they've got the people there that are going to help take care of the body. Good night's sleep, sleeping in a comfortable bed, staying hydrated, because you did reference how warm it's been, and it has been a bit warm over there. Not like here in Tennessee, but warm for those guys. Staying healthy, getting off the court quickly. Playing for the guys, playing 5 sets can be taxing in that next round. Even if you win, it can be very taxing for the next round. So being efficient with your time, getting on and off the court, recovering really well, and then it's always a bit of a who's who. I'd hate to try to pick somebody. I'm excited because everybody's watching the tournament, and we'll get some good viewership hopefully, and people will be excited about tennis for a little while until we get to the U.S. Open.
Hey, real quick, Bill, while we're talking men's, it looks like the Wimbledon or the semifinal match today, Taylor Fritz, who's our American hopeful, obviously, he's going to go up against the big dog, Carlos Alcaraz. That match got moved, and that's going to give Alcaraz another day off. Is that a massive advantage for him? And kind of handicap that one for us, if you would.
I think so. Anytime you get an extra rest period, right, an extra day is like gold. I think that's huge for him, especially when you play a physical game like Alcaraz does. I mean, all the guys are playing pretty physical. It's going to be a challenge on the court, and it's going to be a battle. But anytime you can get a little extra rest, like I said earlier, with maybe a quicker match or a delay or something like that, it's gonna help. I still like where Taylor is. He's won a couple of grass court events. I know he's in the best physical shape that he's probably ever been. His coach, Michael Russell, is a buddy of mine, and that guy's a beast in the gym, and he's really transformed what Taylor has been able to do physically. And so don't count him out if he's having a good serving day. And if his girlfriend, whose last name is Riddle, right? No relationship.
Okay.
But if things are going good for him, it'll be a bloodbath. But I do feel like Carlos wins that one probably in 4.
I'm looking forward to it. It should be a fun match. And then kind of winding it back one round. Obviously, we were keeping tabs on Ben Shelton, and he couldn't quite break through, falling in center in the quarters. But how close is this guy, or what is the buzz in the tennis community about the world's number 10 right now?
Well, I mean, Ben has got a great team around him. He's got the experience of his dad, who's been there, done that kind of a thing. I know his uncle very well, who's a tennis pro up in Indiana, also a big pickleball guy. But he's just got really good support, and I think he's got a good head on his shoulders. You know, no real expectations, meaning like, hey, I'm going to go out there and play my best. I'm going to play loose and free. And that's where you want to be. If you can go out there and just play with no real pressure on you, then you're going to be able to do some cool things. I like where he's at. That lefty serve he's got is tough on every surface. I think he just needs some more seasoning. Even though he did well in college and he's done well progressing so far, he just needs a little bit more seasoning, and look for bigger and better things from him in the next year to 18 months.
It was a fun run, and obviously, hopefully, there will be more for him because his game is so entertaining. Any other final thoughts? And then I also got to ask you, how many hours before your feet were back on the ground in America did you find a gym? Because we can find you at the tennis court, or we can find you at the gym, Bill.
I'll be honest with you. I had some trouble getting back. They canceled one of my flights coming out of New York. So I had a pit stop at a hotel, found the gym there. Actually, it was a decent gym at the hotel. So it's part of, one of the things I've learned, part of the recovery and part of just trying to stay in a routine. And traveling, you just got to find a way to stay in a routine, stay hydrated, and stay connected to friends and family.
Bill Riddle, UT Southern tennis coach, joining us here on Coach's Corner on Main Street Sports today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Bill, we appreciate you taking some time with us, especially as on the go as you are, and look forward to catching back up with you soon.
Anytime, guys. Appreciate what you guys are doing and giving some support to tennis. And anytime you need me, I'm always here.
Oh, hey, real quick, before we let you get out of here, Bill, producer Mark wants to, we have a side-by-side. Hopefully you can see this. We have the pasta on one side and we have the sandwich on the other side. And if you can see it, we want to get your feedback. Which of those two are you taking?
Oh, gosh. You know what? Here's the thing. I'm not much on food coming out of the grocery store that's prepackaged. So if I have to choose between one of the two, I'm going to go the pasta with the strawberries.
I mean, it doesn't. The pictures obviously make things look better, and that picture looks phenomenal. I would try that at this point.
Actually, you know what? I mean, looking at it now, I'd be like, okay, I could try that. I'm just not going to do the sandwich in the prepackaged. Just not happening.
Yeah,
that's an airport veteran move. I tend
to agree there. I think given the two, if it's one or the other, it's probably going to be Swiatek's pasta that we go with. So yeah, I think it's unanimous here. Bill, we appreciate you, man.
Guys, take it easy. Talk to you soon.
Thank you, Bill.
Thank you.
All right, bye.
Let's take a break here on Throwback Thursday on Main Street Sports today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. When we come back, we'll be talking a little baseball. Stick around.
If you want the latest in weather conditions, be sure to tune in to our Busy Bee Plumbing weather report each weekday on Mornings on Main Street. Brought to you, of course, by Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating and Air Conditioning. We will keep you updated on the latest conditions outside, like severe weather, heat, snow, rain, and even help.
Zion Christian Academy at zioneagles.org or 931-388-7531. You can schedule your appointment to visit their beautiful campus. Again, zioneagles.org or 931-7531 to schedule your visit today.
July 10th, 1958. Despite allowing 11 hits with one strikeout, Lou Burdett went the distance on the mound for the Milwaukee Braves against host Los Angeles, and his offense likely kept him in the game. Burdett went 2 for 5, breaking open a scoreless contest with his fourth inning grand slam and adding a solo shot in the eighth to help down the Dodgers 8-4. Felix Mantilla added a homer for the Braves, with Burdett inducing a foul pop from Nashvilleian Jim Gilliam for the final out of the game. That was this day in Braves baseball. See, that's why we don't need the DH, because you never know when a pitcher's going to hit 2 home runs in a game, one of them a grand slam.
And as we heard yesterday, Skeens needs to swing the stick for the Pirates. They need that production.
There you go. I mean, bring pitchers hitting back, man. Yeah. Come on. Braves didn't need their pitchers hitting yesterday, oddly enough. A 9-2 win out at West Sacramento over the host Athletics, and they got 5 home runs in the win. 2 from Acuna, 1 to lead off the game. Drake Baldwin also hit 1 in the first inning. Who else homered? Austin Riley had 1. That's 4. Oh, and Ozuna hit 1. So, yeah, the Braves with 5 home runs a night after the Athletics hit 5 in a 10-1 victory. And once again, Wade, the over-under was 11. So you got a push last night.
Yeah, if you the half can make you laugh sometimes. If you had 10.5, you may be feeling some type of way today. If you had 11.5, you may be feeling some type of way today. But if where you shop, you had 11 at your disposal, yeah, you just got to accept a push. Sometimes a push feels like a win.
Right. Bryce Elder, 7 strikeouts in 6 2/3 innings, picks up the victory, and much needed when you take into consideration where this team is and has been, and where that pitching rotation is in particular, with as many guys on the injured list all of a sudden as you've got available to throw, and with the tough outing that you had just gotten the night before from Didier Fuentes. So yeah, big performance for Bryce Elder, particularly under the circumstances last night. The Braves 40-51 coming into tonight's 8:05 matchup. The Athletics 38-56. It'll be Spencer Strider going to the mound for the visiting Braves, 3-7 with a 3.93 earned run average. J.P. Sears gets the ball for the Athletics, 7-7 with a 4.76. Is the Braves actually in position to win a series, which would be something different?
Yeah, in theory, if you want to believe in a little momentum, all right, yeah, you drop the first. If you're going to drop one of the first 2, might as well drop the first one and have a little mojo heading into tonight's game.
Yeah, yeah.
That's the way
So
I look at it.
hopefully they can ride that momentum again. They say momentum is your next day starting pitcher, and I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing for the Braves. But I mean, Spencer Strider has been whittling that ERA down, and again, this is a guy coming off an injury, so maybe expectations for him to jump right back in and pick up where he left off were a little unfair. But he's working back into shape and got a shot again to give the Braves a series win with a nice performance here tonight.
Real quick,
Houston,
it's going to go up. It's going to go up to 98 later in the day, and around game time, it's going to be in the mid 80s. This will shock you, I know, but the over/under 10.5 again tonight. Back to 2 nights ago in terms of team totals. Braves listed at 5.5. Athletics listed at 4.5.
That's wild. And I wonder, Wade, you talked about the way that park plays, and again, you had 6 home runs in the first game, 5 hit by the Athletics. The Athletics did not homer last night, so but I wonder if that's playing into that number that we're getting out of Vegas.
Yeah, Vegas, just when you think, like even when I bring up those lines on the NASCAR head-to-head matchups, and Vegas knows. If you think you got a little angle, Vegas has already thought about that 2 weeks before you did. So they kind of know what they're doing. Yeah, we've seen the dingers at a rapid rate in this game. And it seems like, one team has had the majority the last couple of nights. Be curious to see if that's more evenly distributed tonight or how that plays out. Should be a fun one, though.
Yeah. Houston, as well as they have been playing, got back home and got swept by Cleveland. The Guardians with a 4-2 victory last night behind Jose Ramirez and Angel Martinez, who each homered. Guardians improving to 48-43 with that win. Houston, having dropped 3 straight, they are now 55-38 after coming into the week 20 games over 500. I think it's just a blip. Houston's been playing awfully well. It's not something you can keep up for 162, but I mean, when you drop 3 straight at home, I guess it gets to be a little concerning.
Yeah, it didn't start on a good note even before the game started. Jake Myers had to leave with some calf tightness or things of that nature, but never good when you have to tinker with the lineup during pregame. Kind of like a black cat, running in front of you. So the vibes weren't right, but hopefully get him back, maybe a rest day or 2, and then jump in. You got the Rangers coming in. That's kind of the only good way to look at it from my perspective. If you can't get up for Texas, this is your last 3 before the break. As bad as this series kind of was, you're still in a great spot, both in the West and the American League at large. So if you can't get up for this series, then you maybe have some real questions.
Yeah. After going 1 for 8 with runners in scoring position in that loss last night, the Astros get today off, and maybe that's a good thing. Just flush it. Get away from the park. Go play some golf, go play with your kids, whatever. Come back and get ready for the Rangers. The Rangers who lost to the Angels last night, 11-8. Tough outing for former Vandy boy Kumar Rocker, 4 1/3 innings pitched, 6 earned runs. Did not take the decision, fortunately, but the Texas Rangers fell to the Angels 11-8. They will play again tonight at 8:38 out on the West Coast before they come back for this Lone Star State matchup beginning tomorrow with the Astros.
Yeah, Lone Star Series, little rivalry, not quite the juice that is kind of been behind it in the last several seasons, but they will be up for it. I'd even be cool with you. Show a little, let's let the tempers kind of flare a little bit. Everybody's, undoubtedly got, whether you're the Astros or the Rangers, you got a little pent up energy before the break you want to release. Give me a little extra heading into the weekend. Should be fun.
There we go. I don't know how much I think the Dodgers have got some pent up frustrations right now. They just lost a 10-inning 3-2 decision to the Brewers last night. Jackson Churio with the game-winning base hit there for the Brewers after Milwaukee tied the game up in the 9th. Dodgers have lost 6 straight. The team that we thought was invincible, apparently not.
Yeah, like you said a minute ago, referring to Houston, it's 162 games. You got a chance to course correct, and the only benefit for Houston is their division is certainly weaker than the division that the Dodgers are in. So got to be careful. if you're LA. Hadn't gone their way as of late. They still got a sliver of a lead on the Cubs at the moment, but losing 6 straight. You could have, a final note on Vegas, you probably could have won some change on the longest losing streak this season. It wouldn't have been up to 6, I don't think, at any point.
You wouldn't have thought for sure, but again, Milwaukee scoring in the top of the 10th, and then in the bottom of the 10th after closer Trevor McGill struck out Freeman, Pages, and Edman in order in the top to keep it tied for Churio to come up with the late game heroics there for the Brewers. Again, 3-2 Milwaukee over LA, the 6th straight loss for the Dodgers there. Speaking of streaks, the Blue Jays had a 10-game winning streak on the line when they went into yesterday's matchup against the Chicago White Sox. It came to an end. The White Sox, of all teams, downing Toronto 2-1 to snap that 10 games run for the Blue Jays.
Yeah, that one was going on while we were on air, and Chicago had a lead. I didn't want to say anything, though, just because I didn't want to jinx it. But, the Astros fan of me was kind of secretly hoping the Blue Jays would stumble, and sure enough, it comes to pass. They have to kind of, course correct a little bit. Man, they were absolutely flying, just kind of lapping everybody these last couple of weeks. And a team that, on paper, right, it feels like they have been there. This is what we're seeing, what we thought we might see at their best. I'll be really fascinated to see if they can keep it up. You get the feeling the Yankees are going to be in their rear view for the rest of the season. But can they kind of hold them off? That could end up being a sneaky fun division race this year.
Yeah, right now, it's not fun at all for the Yankees. They are 2.5 back of the Blue Jays. Toronto topping the AL East. The White Sox, meanwhile, improving to 31-62 with that win. That puts them, 6.5 games behind the Athletics for the worst record in the American League. White Sox are bad.
White Sox are bad. The fact that their good news is what it is tells you how bad they were last year. The good news is they're not as bad as last year. And also they're not as bad as the Rockies.
That too. Yeah.
That ain't much good news. Christopher Gabriel ain't really buying what I'm selling there, but it's better that's the best I got.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's better than nothing, I guess. Like you said, the Rockies are 21-72. So what's that? They're 10 games up on the Rockies. The Rockies are bad. We mentioned the Yankees. On top of everything else going on with them, they just decided to basically eat $22 million over the next 2 years. They cut veteran second baseman DJ LeMahieu. Benched him on Tuesday, designated him for assignment yesterday. He is under contract through the end of the 2026 season at $15 million per. So they're going to owe him a guaranteed $15 million next year, and what they've not paid him of $15 million this year. So again, do the math. You're talking about nearly $22 million that they are just paying a guy to go away.
Man, yeah, tough to see. And we've seen the Yankees make swift moves, but man, this one kind of hurts.
Yeah, I mean, it's not Jimbo Fisher money, but still, $22 million will go a long way, and it would go a long way toward trying to replace this guy. But instead, they're having to spend it on just getting him off the roster. We'd rather pay you to go away than actually play you. How bad is that? But hitting 266 with a pair of home runs in 45 games thus far. And I guess they just needed better out of that situation. They've moved Jazz Chisholm over to second. That's tough in the middle of a division race that they find themselves in, that you're still kind of trying to figure things out on the infield, but that's where the Yankees are right now.
Yeah, and this is a guy, man, that's crazy when you hear those numbers. The guy that's won the batting title twice, once with the Rockies and then once with the Yankees in 2020. So things have had and the reason, obviously, no disrespect or shade toward the Blue Jays, but the Jays win 10 in a row, and the Yankees, meanwhile, were in free fall mode there for a little bit. So that's how this thing has gotten as kind of crazy as it has been. I mean, at some point, you have to kind of start grasping at straws to kind of keep things together. I don't know really what the thought process was, but yeah, it kind of stings to see a guy that seemingly was kind of a fan favorite there go by the wayside.
You know, we talked yesterday about Patrick Bailey's walk-off inside the park home run to push San Francisco past Philadelphia on Tuesday night, 4-3. Philadelphia decided they would not be in a position to be walked off last night, and Bryce Harper in particular. Harper with a home run and 3 doubles. Philadelphia 13, San Francisco nothing. Justin Verlander, 15 starts, 0-7 with that loss for the Giants.
Yeah, tough break. Verlander was, dealing in terms of strikeouts, but the Phillies, they're going to be fun. Man, we talk about fun divisions too. I mean, them and the Mets, it's almost a battle of who wants it the least right now. Both in the last 3 weeks have really kind of gone through their ups and downs. But we certainly saw some of their best of their firepower last night.
Hey, no doubt. As we mentioned during the rundown, rain-shortened performance over in Durham as the host Bulls defeated the Nashville Sound 6-5, despite a couple of home runs from Bobby Dahlbeck and Tyler Black. Black's first with the Sounds as he's coming back from an injury. But 5-inning affair before rain shut things down over there. They will get things going again today at 5:35 in Game 3 of that 6-game series over at the Durham Bulls Athletic Park, one of the best parks in AAA baseball, along with First Horizon.
I was hoping for the Thunderbalk last night. Turns out it wasn't meant to be.
Well, if
you gotta let them play a little more.
Yeah, ideally it would have been against the Bulls, not against the Sounds. So, yeah. Let's take a break as we wrap up hour number 1 of Throwback Thursday here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. When we come back for hour number 2, we'll be throwing it back to a recent conversation we had with Ball State men's basketball associate head coach Scott Combs. Stick around. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50-plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy at zioneagles.org or 931-388-7531. You can schedule your appointment to visit their beautiful campus. Again, zioneagles.org or 931-7531 to schedule your visit today. Custom Stone Handlers supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with Riverstone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe the measure of any person or company is how you treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStoneHandlers.com.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
without further ado, we talked about our guest in the first hour, and we bring him in now. Kind of continuing the coach theme today. It's been a coach-filled show, but we're excited to do so. But he's also a good friend of the program. He is recently named as the Ball State men's basketball associate head coach. He is longtime Austin Peay assistant, longtime Martin Methodist / UT Southern head coach, formerly at Morehead State, formerly at James Madison. He is Scott Combs. Coach Combs, did I get all of those just now? That's a lengthy resume, my man.
I think you hit them all. Good seeing you guys.
Good to have you, Coach, and we are excited to have you join us. And, you know, it's not every day we talk Ball State on a show based in southern Middle Tennessee, but your connections to the Volunteer State kind of, and just being a good old friend of Mo, Blaine, and myself, we wanted to have you on. So thank you for taking some time. And kind of as we jump right into it, what has the last 2 weeks been for you going from a very successful JMU program to a Ball State program where you're trying to continue that success?
Well, it's been ripping and running, as you can expect. Your head's spinning, but at the same time, it's part of the business. And, you know, that's probably with anything. But you come in, and in the summertime, you're meeting the new guys, the new faces, getting to know their names, and then you mix in a little bit of recruiting. So summertime has a little bit of a mix and match when it comes to probably being on the fly. And, you know, with adding a move into it, it's a little bit of an adjustment, but it's not the first time, and quite a few people in this profession know that. And, you know, you just kind of have to roll with the punches.
Absolutely, and it's a move, yes, but it's a move home for you. You're a Hoosier State native, standout player there in Paoli, Mr. Basketball runner-up to a gentleman, I believe, by the name of Bryce Drew, if memory serves me correctly. Is that right, Coach?
That is correct.
So you've got the goods, but you're back home, even though you have made the move. What's that process been like? Because I imagine you've got flooded with calls and congrats.
Well, it was exciting, and at the same time, it was a tough decision. You know, worked with Preston Spradlin and crew for 7 years, and we had a ton of success. And James Madison is a great spot, a terrific place to live. You know, their football has kind of put them on the map here as of late, but basketball, women and men, and just the overall experience is awesome. But the chance to, you know, to come back home, you know, and I think Ball State, being in the MAC Sun Belt, they have a lot of similarities, a lot of parallels. Just the opportunity with my family and a lot of friends here, some closeness and proximity, that played a big factor. And it wasn't an easy decision. There was a lot of talking back and forth, but at the end of the day, when you pull on those heartstrings, you know, it won out. And we are super excited.
We're excited for you, Coach, and we again thank you for taking some time to join us here today. Kind of speaking of coming home and speaking of those connections, walk us through the process. You obviously have a great relationship and a great connection to a very well-connected head coach in Michael Lewis, who has Hoosier State ties, but also has some big-time D1 experience.
Well, that goes way back to you know, our youth when we were kids, probably. You know, growing up, either played against each other or in the same gym, you know, back to back. And our dads knew each other, being administrators in at different high schools. And as you get going along and you get a little older, people start to separate a little bit, and talent levels, you know, they raise up. And Michael and I, our paths were somewhat similar. And then when you jump into the coaching profession, a little bit similar again. And you just see people on the road and you stay in touch. And I think that's one thing that I like to do, and specifically with guys that I think are going places. And Michael's been one of those. So when he called, you know, our paths had crossed a couple of different times. But again, to be with him and to kind of come back home was exciting.
Talking with Scott Combs, the new associate head coach for Ball State men's basketball. Back home in Indiana, Scott, you formed a second home in Middle Tennessee as well, though, with your time at Austin Peay, with your time at Martin Methodist, now known as UT Southern. And that's kind of noted in your recruitment and how you've recruited in the past. Hit the ground running at Ball State, too, and offering a couple mid-state guys. I know you can't talk too much about that, but what do you value in this kind of region of high school basketball as a recruiter?
Well, you kind of hit it right there as far as the connections and I think being loyal, and it does go back to my early days at Austin P. And then you take that over to Martin Methodist, Morehead State, James Madison. This business, you have to have a ton of trust. And, I think on my end in particular, the guys that I've worked for and worked with, that's been there. And sometimes it's not the case, but more times than not. And I think that's what's probably kept myself in the profession when it comes to recruiting. It's connecting dots, and sometimes the evaluations do play a factor. But it's those coaches, whether it's high school, summer AAU coaches that are reaching out to you, and then you kind of the vetting process takes place. It's not always a match, but thankfully for me, it has on more times than not. And it's been a fun ride and an experience to get to learn about people and families, and then to keep those connections along the way. That's what I like to do.
Yeah, over time, is that like a big kind of web of connections of a network that you have of coaches in a specific region, kind of geographically, or do you kind of have a short Rolodex as a coach?
Well, I think geographically that does matter. And for me, it started with my parents. I'm thankful for them growing up in Indianapolis, and in particular, being involved and in education. That's kind of where it started. And then it got into coaching and then some administration. And then that led into my recruitment. I played for Norm Stewart at Missouri and Dave Luce at Austin P. Just, two Hall of Famers. Call it what it is. Old timers, winners, all about the right things. And for me to learn from those guys, I've been pretty lucky. And, so those connections, they run deep, and they start to spread out. And then as you get a little older, you start to make your own. But it seems to always go back to probably where I came from. And that's probably why Ball State was a draw.
Coach, as you kind of get settled in as much as you can there on campus, what do you like in the immediate future about this team, or is it kind of still too early to tell in your mind?
Well, that's a good question, and I think in this era and time frame of sports, and in particular basketball, there is a lot of unknown. Now, the things that are exciting are some personnel pieces. Now you got to put it together. But I think the other things in my couple of weeks, and it's been a while since I've been up here, but the campus is beautiful. The arena, it's big. It's got there's a lot of people that come in there. It's got a lot of tradition. Those two things I think are the ones that you want to talk about quickly. But other than that, as far as where we're coming from and where we're going, I'm excited. The staff that I'm getting to know, and the players, and just everybody involved. This is a good place, and I'm looking forward to seeing where it goes.
Is this kind of a big transition for you, Scott? I mean, as you mentioned, you had the move from Morehead to James Madison, but you knew Coach Spradlin. You had a connection, long withstanding connection with that staff and what they were about. How big of a jump is it for you to go from something you're really familiar with to maybe something that's a little more unknown?
Well, that was what was tough from leaving James Madison and that group was we had built it, and I think they have a chance to be really good. And not just that, working with quality people was what made that a great job. And I am going to definitely miss that. Our family was involved heavily, whether it was just in the town of Harrisonburg or within, James Madison. Same difference at Morehead State and in the community. So one thing over here that we did talk about was a challenge. There's going to be quite a few of them, in particular, just getting to know the surroundings and to know the people. But it was something that I'm embracing. I'm looking forward to that, trying to learn how to work with some different people. I do know Michael and where he's coming from, but at the same time, I don't. And I want to bring some things in time to where I see can help with some success. So went back and forth, but a great question as far as, making the jump. I think when you look at the Sun Belt and MAC, and you probably compare football and basketball in particular, they're probably a coin flip, to a degree. The conferences play each other a little bit in football, and in basketball, there's a Sun Belt MAC challenge. So, for what that's worth, a lot of similarities. I'm hoping to bring some of the past with me and give it some success.
Kind of along that same vein, Coach, I got to ask you, what lessons or what tools have you taken? Obviously, a little bit of time has elapsed, but during your run, a very successful run at Martin Methodist College, again, now known as UT Southern, as the head coach, multiple national tournaments, getting to the national quarterfinals. What lessons have you kind of used coming from assistant coach to then a nice stretch as a head coach back to this associate role now? What have you picked up along the way?
Well, working with Coach Luce, I think that's where it started, how to work with people. And I got that from my parents as well. So, those to me matter. And I tell my family that we're going to work with people that we like to be around. And we've been pretty lucky that that's always been the case. And I see that going forward. If it ever is not, then, we're going to find something that we like to do with people. But it starts with how you work and who you work with. Over at Martin Methodist, I was lucky enough to get the call to come over there, and our staff was small, but it was an awesome place and an awesome time in my life that, my wife and I, we found a great fit, so much so that we didn't need to really leave. But when you get the call, you weigh the options, and there was an excitement about getting back to the Division I level. But from Austin Peay to Martin Methodist and how we operate, it's been very similar because we like to pop the popcorn and turn the lights on. And that's what I learned as a kid. Now we're in a position now that we don't necessarily do that, but wouldn't put it past me if somebody asked me to. So I think when you're looking at that, you look at the big picture, that's where we're coming from and hopefully where we're going.
Dave Blues, obviously such a huge factor in your career path, Scott, and of course through Austin Peay basketball history. Anytime I get to talk with somebody who either played for Coach Blues or coached under him, really just want to hear the stories that you have from your time with him, starting maybe with that people aspect that you talked about. Can you speak on just how much of a people person, how much of a connections guy he was on top of basketball?
Well, he's definitely a family guy, and all of his kiddos, his wife, they were all involved, and I love that. And that was in an era where, he was there 25 years. It's not probably won't happen again. And at the same time, why not happen? But somewhere in the mix, what I've learned from him and being a family guy is that your priorities have to be lined up. And when they are, I think good things happen. And when they're not, good things still happen. And I think you want to be around people that you can win with, but you also want to be around people that you can lose with. And you've heard that before, but it really hit home with me and my family. And that was one thing when, Preston Spradlin and all those guys over there, just great family guys. And Michael Lewis, terrific family guys. So, and there's a lot of them out there. So it's not, like I'm saying, it's not the case, but we've been really lucky. And coming with that, we've also been really lucky with our winning. And sometimes, again, that is what keeps you in the game. And we're very fortunate to still be in the game.
I've said at the beginning of the show, if I asked you to just rattle off some Dave Blues stories, we might be here for the whole rest of the second hour. But is there one that sticks with you?
Well, in our time together, there's quite a few that are out there. Some may be myth, but I do when I talk about him, he's a feisty feller. He competes at the highest level, and that was when he played. I do know that the stories that I'm telling now, I don't know how many Hall of Fames he's been in, but he's got to be a record-breaking. And then from our recruiting stories, we love to go recruit together. And the restaurants that we would venture to between the Dairy Queens and the Cracker Barrels for a cup of coffee or a milkshake. And then to top it off, Waffle House was our spot. So I'll kind of leave it at that. But there's a ton, and just a terrific guy. And maybe one of these days you guys will get to talk to him.
Hey, Coach, one thing I have not confirmed, but I have heard about Coach Luce, be careful with him on the golf course because he will take you to the cleaners if you're not careful. Is that true?
That's true. And if I'm not mistaken, you might have played with him a time or two. So,
yeah, I try to suppress some of those memories, but yeah, because it's tough. My game almost doesn't count, but yeah, he's got the goods on the court and on the links as well. Coach, one thing I wanted to ask you too, speaking of kind of talent development and things of that nature. You're obviously a guy that's kind of plugged in all over the place, but especially your time at Moorhead, there was a gentleman by the name of Janai Broom that, he goes on to Auburn, but he was doing great things at Moorhead. Kind of walk us through that connection that you guys had, the success you had, and then obviously you're still keeping tabs. Maybe his name gets called here at some point. We're talking about a future NBA player.
Well, Janai and his family, just awesome people. In his recruiting, sometimes there is a success story. And with him, it was some connecting the dots. He was on maybe a list or two. And I had a friend of mine that had him on my radar, didn't know much about him, thought his name was Johnny. And during the recruiting process, he was probably second or third, if I remember correctly, on our depth chart. And it just goes to show you sometimes, you get lucky. And for him, he ended up making his way to the top of the list. I say we are the group that I was with at Moorhead and James Madison. We recruit as a group. And when he got to campus, we weren't sure if he was going to play, let alone start. And then the rest of the story is history. But, you get a call even from Auburn, and can he play? Yeah, he can play. I just don't know if he can play quite at that level. Again, we're going to see tonight just how good he is. And it was fun to watch all year long, just neck and neck with Cooper and just, all the way down to the Final Four in San Antonio. And it's just one of those that you hope happens again. It probably won't. But, man, we're so happy for that kiddo and his family.
It's going to be fun to watch him, and it certainly will be fun to watch you. Not the only NBA connection, though. You got a guy on the Spurs that spent some time in that Moorhead program. I mean, what is it about Moorhead maybe in particular? Or was that more of a function of you guys as the staff that you think that we've seen some great talent come out of some of these obscure places?
I think it was a multitude of things. And for me, for having a little bit of a background in the NAI division, there's kids everywhere that can play. And you know this just as well. During our time at Martin Methodist, we were able to get a win at Middle Tennessee. It's college basketball, no matter what level. And I love telling that to every kid to dream big. But if you can find a spot on a roster, let alone the floor, it's college basketball. Now, you bring that up with Riley Minix. He was coming from NAI. Now, he took advantage of the grad transfers, a little older. The staffs that I've worked with were well versed in guessing on translating, and in particular with Riley and a couple other kids. But another one of those success stories. You got a high school kid out of Florida that doesn't get recruited and lands at a NAI school, stays all 4 years, and probably wasn't sure if he could play at Moorhead. And OVC Player of the Year. Now he's with the Spurs. Great family, great kiddo. What a story.
Good stuff, Coach. Blaine, anything else before we let Coach Combs get out of here?
Yeah, what was it like working with Wade?
Well, we've got stories for a day with Wader, but I tell you what, he's one of the best, and one of the best people person, connecting the dots, people, and we're going to be friends forever. So I was lucky down there with everybody. I could name drop for days, but he is what he is, and I'm sure you guys have a lot of fun, and I've had a lot of fun being on here.
Absolutely. Thank you for keeping the vault sealed, Coach Combs. Blaine tried to do it, but we appreciate you keeping those lips sealed. I appreciate your check's in the mail for that. Awesome. Thank you very much, Scott Combs. He is the new associate head coach at Ball State men's basketball. We'll see you soon, Coach.
See you guys.
Thank you very much again to Scott for joining us. Blaine, yeah, you tried to reel a little bit out.
It was on my list of questions. I had it there ready to go. I was going to hold it, but then I thought I might as well take a swing.
Yeah, and coach is a professional, so I thank him for that. And some things just need to stay in the past, so that's good.
Deep in a forest at Nashville Zoo, new creatures here for you to view. Phantoms graced in black and white swing high in trees of dappled light. In rocky crags, tall and steep, small antelopes with nimble feet. A wise old man with beard of white, a sentry perched on stony height. Amidst it all, a hunter lies, with coat of gold and steely eyes. A new adventure just for you. Leopard Forest at Nashville Zoo. Open now.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50-plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily, as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
Welcome back into Throwback Thursday here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. I'm Maurice Patton. That's Wade Neely. Nice conversation that Wade and Blaine were able to have with newly named Ball State Associate Head Coach Scott Combs. Looked like you guys had a good time with that, Wade.
There's never a bad time with Coach Combs. It was fun to go through his web of basketball connections, and it's kind of cool to see him back in the Hoosier State. I didn't mean to bring up Bryce Drew beating him out for Mr. Basketball, but I had to kind of go there a little bit. So he's one of the best. Love Coach Combs as a friend and as a colleague, and he's certainly well connected into the professional game as well.
I like the glasses, the studious look that that Scotty was sporting there on the show as well. So good stuff there. We are pleased to bring on board now from the Arizona Republic, DUANE Rankin, talking a little association talk as the offseason is in full swing right now with free agency and extensions and that kind of thing. DUANE, good afternoon.
Hey, how you guys doing?
We're doing well, man. Appreciate you taking some time with us. What is going on in Phoenix? So, I mean, it feels like there is as much happening with the Suns as there is with any team in the league right now, with the 7-team trade that got Kevin Durant to Houston, with the Bradley Beal, where is he going to wind up? And now your colleague, Jeremy Clough, has an article online. Devin Booker contract reaction. Did Phoenix Suns overpay for star guard's extension? And so that's not just a thought that's held nationally, but it's certainly one held there locally as well. The extension of Devin Booker catching a lot of flack. What's going on in Phoenix, DUANE?
I mean, look, you had to pay the guy. Well, what were you going to do? You're going to say, nah, we're not going to pay you this extension. I mean, he is the franchise. You traded away Kevin. You're not going to have Brad back. It's just part of the process when you have these extensions come up. Like when he was up for his max, they had to do it. Like they were in a position where they had to make the deal. Now, you can say So that's a lot of money to be paying a guy over that 2-year span. But if you're looking at his timeline and at that point in his career, you're going to see people making far more money than that by the time you get to that point of his contract. So it's glaring now, and because you're putting him in categories with Shea Gilgeous-Alexander in terms of the number. And that's part of what's making people go, whoa, he's going to make more money over a certain stretch than Shea, the MVP, the Finals MVP, arguably the best player in the league with him and Nikola Jokic. So that's what's leading into the argument of paying too much money. You're going to see this more. I think this is just another step in guys getting enormous, tremendous, stupendous, and some would say ridiculous amount of money, but that's where we are with it. That does put pressure on. You got to raise your level. He's not in the upper echelon of NBA players, but he's being paid like one, and so that plays into it as well.
More money, more problems, right?
That's the only way to look at it.
2 years, 145 mil. That's my Franklin High math tells me that's 72.5 per year.
That would be correct.
That's and what SGA got 71.5 a year. Right. So to your point, and I don't hear Devin Booker and Shea Gilgeous-Alexander often get mentioned in the same breath. So I mean, so the reaction is understandable, but your point is understandable as well. I mean, you've gotten rid of arguably the two best guys on the roster. You had to extend him. Did you have to extend him at that number?
Well, it's a bad look if you don't. You see what I'm saying? Like, yeah, you could go in there and negotiate and be like, oh, we like to. But every player, when they're put in this position, most players, Jaren Jackson Jr., for example, you guys' neck of the woods. I mean, every player, when they're put in this role, the team goes with the max. I mean, it's just something that ends up happening. And so I don't, it's part of what the league is. You don't hardly go into a negotiation and go, okay, look, you think the players going to want less money? I mean, Booker has all the cards in his hand. I mean, he's sitting there looking at them like, y'all not going to pay me the max? I'm Devin Booker. I'm one of the most beloved players. People, and I've seen where, obviously, and again, I can understand people's reaction to that dollar amount. I mean, it's insane. Mm-hmm. But anyone who's lived here and seen the hysteria over the guy, it's like any other star player in their place, that's beloved, and that's where he's at. And the only thing you can do now is wait and see if he remotely comes close to living up to that dollar amount, which means championships, right? So that's what he's going to be judged by.
Dwayne, you kind of walked right into where I was going to go with that. It seems, outside of Phoenix, outside of Arizona, maybe this looks a different way. But if you kind of peel the layers back, man, it does feel like he means a lot to that franchise. We're talking about the franchise leading scorer and kind of stayed loyal with him through some rough times. Right. To me, when I first heard that news, and the numbers are eye-popping, of course, but it felt like a reward for guiding them through some tough times, and it felt like a sentimental contract, if nothing else, in regards. I'm curious, kind of your feedback there.
Well, the thing that the other part that people are, questioning is when you do get to that point with your team, it's a lot of money eating up the cap. So then, what are you doing with the rest of the roster? Where are you at? What if you're in a situation where a guy is available that you could get, but you can't afford to get him because you're looking at that contract? That is more than anything where people can look at is go, okay, when that time comes, and with Devin, and you're looking to, because at that point you probably are not going to have the same roster. You're going to be retooling it in some way, and when you're doing that and that much is on the books, you're not going to be able to do what you could do, even if it was $50 million for him during that. But the guy was already making that in this deal now. So that's what I'm saying. Like when you go to the next extension, it usually goes up. So that's where the 50, 70, you're looking at the dollars, but reward, that's more of, I see your point, but that's more for me when Kobe, remember when Kobe, they paid Kobe with the Lakers towards the end of his career? That felt like a reward. This is what you've done for us. You've won 5 championships. And that's the reaction of fans. They're like, yeah, he got to the finals, but Chris Paul had a lot to do with that. Man, that's where the crux of this is. Like, okay, he's done a lot for the franchise. Yes, he stuck with them. Yes, he should be rewarded for that. But have they won enough to really merit that kind of money?
And that's the other way I look at this, Dwayne. The other way I look at this is this a face-saving kind of measure to the franchise? Because, man, there's a lot of question marks about their direction and, assets that they don't have going forward. Was this kind of almost a face-saving measure? Like, well, at least we extended our guy, and at least we can hang on our hat on that for the next couple of years.
Again, I think you had to, but your point is well taken. I mean, it is looking at the group, looking at the franchise and going, hey, look, we have a centerpiece here. Even though he is not Shea, Jokic, Giannis, Luka, he's not those guys, but he's in that next tier. So yes, you had to that's part of it too. Like, this is our guy, and we're going to ride with our guy, and that leads to the fan base staying loyal to you. I will put it to you this way: if they would have kept Kevin Durant and traded Devin Booker, there would have been mad hysteria, hell to pay. I hate to use the word riot because that doesn't pertain to this, but just put that in your mind of how the fan reaction would have been. And this is keeping Kevin Durant. All hell would have broke loose if they traded Devin Booker.
DUANE Rankin of the Arizona Republic joining us here on Main Street Sports today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. DUANE, that said, where do the Suns go from here? Because, again, you did lose Kevin Durant. You are going to lose Bradley Beal. What are you going to put with Devin Booker at 72.5 a year?
Well, he's not there yet. So that's where they are right now. He's not there yet as far as that number. But all signs points to Bill getting bought out. So when that happens, I'll say if that happens, it most likely will, but just to be safe, they're going to be under the second apron. Then you can start making some better deals. Like right now, they can't. All they can do is just get vet minimum guys, and that's been part of the problem with the roster. When you have these 3 guys making an enormous amount of money, all you can do now is get vet guys on one year deals, and there's no disrespect to those guys, but they're not the level of players that you need to compete for a championship. And so if they can get under the second apron, which they would if Bill is bought out, then they can make some better moves and start getting some players that Matt Ishbia, quite frankly, he doesn't even know fully the value of the dollar yet, because what he spent hasn't led to them winning. So he doesn't fully understand that yet. But when they get under the apron and can have some of those restrictions off of what they can do and can't do, then you can see them making some moves to bring in some better talent. But it's going to be young guys. It's going to be a young team that got the 3 draft picks. The kid from Duke, Kamal Malawash. I'm here in Vegas, so we'll see him tomorrow night make his debut. And so I'm curious to see how he fits and what he's able to show in the summer league action. But they're going to be young, unless they get under the apron, which they probably will, and then we'll see what they do. We're going to find out what this front office, Brian Gregory being GM, really can do in terms of making moves. You might see a roster that's, they could be pretty competitive. But then we're going to find out because right now they kind of been stuck in a certain spot where they only can do so much. So it's led them to be able to have to do certain deals. Now, when you got more options, how to utilize those will show us what they are as a franchise in the front office, and then it'll translate to what they end up putting on the court.
Meanwhile, in the West, it is OKC and everybody else, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
and they've made some moves as well, extending Holmgren, did something with Jalen Williams earlier today. I mean, they are well fortified to stay in that number one spot in that conference, it feels like. But what do you feel like the rest of the conference, and I guess no deeper than we are into free agency? This is a tough question to ask, but what do you feel like the conference looks like behind OKC?
Well, I still like Denver. I mean, Denver added a couple shooters. They added Cam Johnson. I mean, Michael Porter Jr. can shoot. Cam Johnson shoots. Like that's his job. Like he goes out and his job is to knock down threes. And they brought in Tim Hardaway Jr. Another. So now you got shooters around Jokic, and that's a scary proposition because he draws as much attention as anybody with the basketball in his hands. Yeah. He has the ball on every possession. I can remember talking with Durant about Jokic. He was like, he has the ball every possession. He has the ball every possession, as if to say, like, no one else in the league has it every possession. And he would be correct. So I still look at Denver. I think Denver, they pushed OKC to 7. And they are just as good as the Thunder. Because just like teams can't handle Shea, teams can't handle Jokic either. So I would put Denver right there with them. I know Minnesota made it to the conference finals, but they had some help. Curry being out, an injury. I think Minnesota might take a dip. Houston, obviously with Durant. I'm a huge Amen Thompson fan. I think he's got star written all over him. And Houston has a great shot to get right in that mix. And so those would be the 4 teams I would look at. And then Lakers with Luka, LeBron. I know LeBron and the whole what's he doing? Or look, he went into he picked up the option. Mm-hmm. So I'm gonna just leave it at that. But the addition of Ayton makes them interesting. Doesn't mean they're a championship contender compared to OKC and Denver, but it makes them more interesting now because they have a legit big, even though he can be very inconsistent. So there's some teams, Clippers. I mean, like you mentioned, it's so deep in the West. But those 4, I think, at the top, I don't see much changing with those 4. Which leads me to asking you guys. I mean, the Grizzlies, no Bane, Ty Jerome. Y'all feeling the moves that they've made or no?
Well, here's the thing. I'm going to just jump in real quick. Here's the thing. Those 4 teams that you just mentioned, the Grizzlies are not going to scratch that level. And I do think you can maybe, especially if Valanciunas decides to stay in Denver and not go overseas, I think Denver's your only viable threat there, really, unless Houston just kind of really catches lightning in a bottle. But to answer that question flatly, the Grizz kind of aren't in that level, barring them just getting on a run of their own. And I think that all roads kind of still lead to, you might win a round or 2, maybe 2 in the postseason with their kind of currently constructed roster, but they're in a weird crossroads to me. You've got some talent that gives you the illusion of winning now, right? But you also kind of are trying to develop some younger talent and keep that pipeline kind of going.
Right.
That's the way I handicap them at the moment.
Right. I would agree with that. The reason I bring up Ty Jerome because he started his career in Phoenix, and he couldn't find his footing in Phoenix. Hurt between the injuries and trying to figure out how to play, and it seemed like he was slow. It was like, yo, the dude is slow. Like, what's the problem? But then he figured it out, and now he's a guy that. And I will tell you guys before you even see Ty Jerome play on a day-to-day or night-to-night basis, he has a ridiculous amount of confidence. I mean, it's somewhere else. It's like in Mars or something. Like he thinks that he is just. He can score on anyone. I mean, it's insane confidence, and you will see that up close with Ty Jerome. You're gonna be like, wow, he took that shot. Wow, he tried that.
I was going to ask you, is that to his detriment, you feel like?
No, I think that kept him in the league when he could have been out the league, because he was with different teams. Like it was OKC, I think, and then I think Golden State. I mean, he was on different squads, and then he got with the right team in Cleveland that figured out how to utilize it, and that's led to Memphis going, okay, we could use that, and so now we'll see, because this is a different situation. You were trying to stay in the league, then you found something in Cleveland.
Mm-hmm.
Coming to Memphis, it's like, okay, we think you're somebody, play like it. There's a different pressure he's at in Memphis than he was at any other spot.
Yeah, if he can run it back offensively to what he did last year, I think, it's a great signing. If that takes a dip, I mean, it's a little bit of a gamble, a little bit of a dice roll from the Grizzlies in that regard. But if he can match that, I like what they did. Real quick, you mentioned Ayton. I'm just curious the fan reaction, for kind of one of their own right there in Arizona and obviously with the Suns. What was the reaction to him on a 2-year deal to the Lakers locally?
Well, the Suns think they have a rivalry with the Lakers. Lakers don't necessarily think it's a robbery. That's first and foremost.
All right.
But with that being said, the Suns have had a hole in the center position since they traded Ayton. I mean, Nurkic, solid player, but then you traded him. Nick Richards, solid player, but then you drafted a big, and then you traded for another big in Mark Williams. Mark Williams, double guy, been hurt. Malawash, rookie. So they still don't have the answer at center yet that we can see and go, okay, they can live with that guy for the next 3 or 4 years. So that's one element of the situation. The other is like, you're joining the enemy. You're joining the enemy. And if I'm Ayton, I would definitely take that. I mean, this guy needs to resurrect a career, because right now he looks like the number 1 overall pick who is wasting years of talent. And I mean, you're going to be getting spoon-fed the ball between 2 of the best passers to ever play this game. I don't know what else he can have. Like if you can't rock with this and be successful, yeah.
Well, and to that point, that's kind of when when Mark Williams was a Laker for 5 hours or whatever it was before the trade was voided. That was kind of the sentiment then, right? It was like, hey, he's got some game, but you don't have to have a ton of game when you got those 2 guys finding you.
Right, and that's the same thing now. But Ayton is more talented than Mark Williams.
Right.
And I think Mark Williams is a really good player, and just the injuries that we fully haven't. But when he's been healthy, towards the end of the year, he was in Charlotte and he put up some numbers, but then he was putting them up in Charlotte. At that point, the Hornets are not nowhere near making the playoffs. So it's kind of like, I'm not saying it's easier, but in a way it is. So we need to see this in a situation where he has to be somebody for a team that's trying to make a playoff run or trying to get into the playoffs. We need to see him in that environment. Ayton has already been in that environment. He's went to a finals. So that to me that's a different deal, but it's okay. You joined the enemy. Trust me, when he shows up, first game, he will hear it, no doubt.
DUANE Rankin of the Arizona Republic joining us here on Main Street Sports today. DUANE, I feel like you probably did not deal with Frank Layden, but you have probably discussed the legendary Utah Jazz coach and general manager with folks that have, and obviously his passing yesterday's been very impactful across the league. What's the feedback you've gotten on him in his passing?
Well, the interesting thing, and again, rest in peace. He epitomized the 80s. Like you think 80s basketball, how it looked, how it felt, the entertainment value, the kind of brash, the loudness of it, the energy of it. Frank Layden was right there. Like he was just as much a part of what the league looked like in terms of the way coaches acted, the way they reacted to referees, the post-game Precious. People think these coaches are saying something now. Oh my God. They were saying far more back then. And he was one of the leaders of that. And the Utah Jazz aren't the Utah Jazz without him. So the guy brought in Stockton and Malone. That's it. You just cut it right there. Like whatever else you want to say, whatever the Jazz now obviously didn't win a title with those two, but got to the finals and lost to the Bulls of Jordan, which everybody did once they got to the finals. But you can just stop his history right there, and that would be enough. One of the all-time not only characters in the league, but just a fixture of the league, and that's been the whole sentiment. That the guy meant so much. He meant obviously a great deal to Utah, but he did to the league as well, and he'll be forever remembered for that.
NBA Coach of the Year and NBA Executive of the Year in 1984. I'm not sure how many people have earned both those awards, and I'm not sure how many people have earned both those awards in the same year. Right. As you mentioned, as team president and GM, selected Stockton and Malone, and also spent a year as coach of the Utah WNBA entry, the Stars with 2 Z's. Yeah. So, again, hugely impactful individual on the National Basketball Association. Frank Layden passed away yesterday at the age of 93. And as Dwayne said, rest in peace, Coach. How much, speaking of WNBA, have you kept up with the Mercury? Do you have any professional responsibilities or any personal following of the Phoenix WNBA entry?
I don't have a professional responsibility, but I think my hands are pretty full with the Suns. But I do try to go to a couple games a year. Buy a ticket. I don't do the press pass deal. They got a job to do. I'm not going to sit there and walk around like I'm working when I'm not. So I'll get a ticket. I see Taurasi. Since I was there, I go to watch her play, and of course they had Griner and all those players. But this new team they got now, when I saw they added Alyssa Thomas, I said, okay, they got something with her, and they've just built a really good team. And I think what's so crazy about the Mercury is they stuck with the coach. Ishbia has not stuck with a coach with the Phoenix Suns, but he stuck with Nate Tibbetts. And look what happened. It's just so strange how you can stick with a guy or a coach and they can build something and maybe figure some things out and get some players, and wow, you can win. So,
it's funny how that works, huh?
Sometimes that formula, it still works. It's still effective. So they're playing really well, and we'll see obviously postseason how they do, but very, very versatile team from what I've watched when I've watched them on film. I watch their games on television. I've watched a couple on television, but I like what I see with the group. It'll be tested when it comes down to the playoffs, but. It's for fans who watched the Suns just completely melt down this past season. It's refreshing for them to see the Mercury play as well as they play.
There you go. DUANE Rankin of the Arizona Republic joining us here on Main Street Sports today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. DUANE, we appreciate you taking some time with us, man. Enjoy Vegas.
Thank you. Y'all appreciate it. I appreciate y'all. Y'all have a good one. And I will leave you with real quick when looking at Desmond Bane. Like, were y'all upset that that they moved him?
It was one of those I was not happy. From a sentiment. The good memories kind of started flooding through, but I kind of sort of see. Man, it sure feels like Orlando gave up a haul to grab that guy. It's almost felt like, hey, they made us too good of an offer.
Right.
So the sentimental aspect, once I kind of can move beyond that, I kind of see the logic. But yeah, it will look a little different next year in Memphis for sure.
Yeah, Bane always strikes a chord with me because I did a huge throw on him before the draft, before he got drafted, and I thought the Suns should have drafted him, to be completely honest. And did a huge story, and when he and I, because the whole memory was his arms are too short, like he doesn't have a long wingspan. He looks like a football guy. He doesn't look like a basketball player, and boy, he can shoot like one. And so I saw him maybe 2 or 3 years later after that, just when I covered him playing the Suns, and I said, when the last time somebody brought up your length of your arms? He said, it's been a minute.
There you go. Dwayne, we appreciate it, man. We'll talk to you.
All right, y'all be easy.
Thank
you. Let's take a break here and let's finish up the Throwback Thursday edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Come back.
Being in Tennessee, we wanted to try to keep it as local as possible, so we have an entire section of our menu that is just dedicated to local whiskeys like Uncle Nearest, Jack Daniels, of course, George Dickel, Nelson Brothers, Greenbrier whiskey, and all of our taps are all local. From 2 o'clock until midnight, we've got food every day for you guys. A good handful of appetizers, some entrees, and a couple salads and things like that. My name is Ethan Kanata. Please come down and see us at the Pick Lobby Bar here at the Omni in Nashville.
At Delta Dental of Tennessee, we know our success begins and ends with providing superior quality service, and that includes serving those who need it most. This year, we're celebrating 25 years of giving back to the community we call home. Delta Dental, along with our Smile 180 Foundation, supports Tennessee's dental colleges and oral health education, children's hospitals, free and reduced cost dental clinics, and other like-minded charities. Here's to the next 25 plus years of ensuring healthy smiles.
There's a line that links us all. Most of the time, we don't even think about it, but it's everywhere. Illuminating our neighborhoods, empowering our businesses, and helping us to recharge. Whether it comes from our grids, the sun, or a kind heart, we believe in the power of good energy. And as your family and region continue to grow, you can trust that we'll always be there for you. Middle Tennessee Electric, bringing good energy.
It's the final segment of Throwback Thursday here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Let's jump in the grab bag. Let's start with the LPGA Tour, where Charlie Hull apparently collapsed during her opening round of the Evian Championship over in France. Suffering from some symptoms of a virus, apparently collapsed on the fourth tee twice. Hit her shot and then collapsed a second time, and eventually had to be carted off and has withdrawn from the tournament. But that had to be scary.
Yeah, that's not good. And that is definitely kind of out of the norm. And especially a younger player too. I mean, that everything about that's kind of scary, and you certainly hope that she is okay. And kind of will be worth monitoring, not just her, but the rest of the field now. Because I mean, imagine you're her playing partner. I mean, that is some scary stuff.
Yeah, she was part of a threesome with the number 4 in the world, Ruoning Yu, and Heiran Ryu. And again, went down before her tee shot. There was a group behind them that they allowed to play through. She received treatment for about 15 minutes, hit her tee shot, and then went down again after completing her tee shot. So had to be carried off. The 29-year-old was at even par through 3 holes, but she has obviously retired from that tournament. And yeah, like you said, will be worth keeping an eye on here over the next few weeks, and hope that goes well for her, because that's, it's not something you hear about often. It's kind of crazy.
No, and like I said, considering, I mean, I'm over here looking up temperatures in France now, and I mean, there was not a major element of heat, it seems like. So I mean, everything about that is kind of scary.
Yeah. few weeks ago, we talked to Brooks Downing of BDG Sports, puts on basketball games, basketball tournaments, different sporting events. And we were discussing with him the Gonzaga, Kentucky game that will be taking place at Bridgestone Arena in December. Well, they've come up with a second basketball game at Bridgestone Arena. Gonzaga and Kentucky will be playing on December 5th. On the 6th, Tennessee and Illinois will be playing in Nashville. It's the first of a 2-year neutral site series that those two will be playing. In 27-28, they will play at the United Center in Chicago. So this was a heck of a ball game last year when they played in Champaign. Tennessee won at 66-64, and it was a nail biter from start to finish. I was listening to it on the radio, actually, coming back from Clarksville. Had been up there for the TACA East-West All-Star football game and was really mad that I couldn't get to a TV. But should be interesting yet again, and the basketball fans of Nashville will be the beneficiaries of this one.
Yeah, Scott Ramsey strikes again, right? I mean, this will be a big-ticket item. Tennessee's obviously going to bring a good crowd. Illinois, with Underwood kind of making some noise in the portal and recruiting trails, should be, a solid team again this year. So everything about this feels good. And, man, it just kind of is another notch in favor of the Nashville Sports Council and obviously what Music City's capable of doing. Everybody loves a good trip. It's early December. I mean, you ain't got nothing else going on. You want to get out of Illinois. You want to get out of some places. So come on down to Nashville.
This is part of a really challenging schedule for Brad Underwood and the Illini. They're also going to play Texas Tech. They're going to play Alabama in Chicago. They're going to play UConn, and they're going to play Missouri in St. Louis. That UConn game will be in New York City, presumably MSG, but I don't know. So they're going to find out a lot about themselves before they get into Big Ten play, obviously.
Yeah, talk about a meat grinder of a schedule. That's the non-conference. Then, the slog of all 68 teams or however many are in the Big Ten these days. It will be done. And like I said, they have made some noise. And Underwood on his socials a couple weeks ago had kind of posted a picture of him, and it looked like he was having a good time. So when he posted that, I was like, okay, he feels kind of all right with his sitch right now. So worth keeping tabs on. This should be a great game. And obviously, as I mentioned, Tennessee, of course, they could sell out Bridgestone in and of their own right. Vol Nation could.
Again, coming to you from Lebanon, Tennessee, the campus of Cumberland University. Tonight, the Tennessee Sports Writers Association will be conducting its awards dinner and its Hall of Fame induction ceremonies for 2025. This year's Hall of Fame inductees include Jim Wyatt of Titans Online, also Clay Bailey out of Memphis, and former Tennessee State Sports Information Director Johnny Franks will be the inductees. So congratulations to them. We'll also be presenting our writing awards, and among the recipients will be Blaine Keller. You just saw him a couple of segments ago. Today, talking to Scotty Combs. So, congratulations to Blaine from Main Street Media. He will be among the writing awards recipients, along with friends of the show, Teresa Walker of the Associated Press and Charles Pulliam of the Williamson Herald. And again, congrats to everybody that will be receiving awards tonight, and to our Hall of Fame inductees, Jim Wyatt, Clay Bailey, and Johnny Franks. That's going to do it for the Throwback Thursday edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Lions. Come back with us at 2 o'clock tomorrow. We will be joined by Ben McKee and Willie G. Ramirez. We'll see y'all at 2 o'clock.